A very good morning, everybody. Today is the second day of our third season of the presentation for semester 3 students. And today we will have presentations on Indian English literature, which was published in the post-independence era. Let us see the topics and the name of the students who are going to make a presentation on this day. Let me share a screen. Okay, so today, second day in the morning session, we will have this sequence and these topics. First, we'll have Hina making presentation on Saleem's quest for identity in the magical world of Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children. Again, let me give a reminder. This all keywords in the title should be capitalized. Identity, magical world, they are all keywords, and that should be capitalized. Hetal will read on the intersection of caste and gender in Meena Kandasamy's selected poems. Gopi's presentation on magic realism in Midnight's Children. Ghanshyam on Indianness in Nissim Ezekiel's poem, The Patriot. Gayatri's on problems of communal divide and tension in Final Solutions. Drashti's presentation on exploring the central theme of communal riots in Final Solutions. Bhavyata's presentation on feminist reading in Kamala Das's An Introduction. You can remove the last word poem, or you can use the word earlier. Feminist reading in Kamala Das's poem, An Introduction, or there is no need to use the word poem there. Avani's presentation on significance of time and space in Final Solution, whether it is solutions or solution. Some of you are writing Final Solutions, and here Final Solution. So make it that which is the right title. Anjali on the art of rebellion. Meena Kandasamy's Dalit voice in literature. Arti's will be the last one today on Midnight's Children as a historical fiction. Okay, so let us start today's presentation. First, Hina, you can come and start.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning to all. My name is Hina Parmar, and today, on occasion of presentation season 3, I'm going to deal with my topic, Salim's quest for identity in the magical world of Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. Here is the personal information of Here is my personal information. Some points which I am going to deal in my presentation. So first, we were going to start with Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie is one such distinguished and applauded author of Indian novels. He has 13 novels to his credit, which is Grimace, Midnight's Children, Shame, The Static Verses, Heron and the Sea of Stories, The Moor's Last Sigh, the ground beneath her feet, furry, Shamilar the clown, the enchantress of Florence, Luca and the fire of life. 2 years, 8 months, and 28 nights. And the most current one, the Golden House. He has additionally authored East-West collection of short stories and non-fictional works which encompass the Jaguar Smile, Nicorette Journey, Step Across the Line, collected non-fiction Wizard of Oz and Joseph Anthon, a memoir. In his literary works, Rushdie deals with the concept of nationalism, history, politics, culture, migration, colonial and post-colonial power structures, freedom of speech, and identity. His works provide expression to the extensive cultural, historical, religious, and political concern of the India subcontinent. Most of his literary works set in Indian subcontinent handle the socio-political matters of the subcontinent. Salman Rushdie is one of the author whose work were very controversial because of some contemporary issues. Midnight Children. Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children, besides being a post-colonial text, is also a historiography metafiction. His narcissistic narration that claims to be historical evokes several issues, provisionality, intertextuality, ideology, and narrativity. That comes very close to historiography metafiction, a coin from Linda Hutton to describe the postmodern interaction legend of historiography and fiction. Salim Sinai's life is connected to history in such a way that it cannot be separated. So Rushdie, in the very beginning of the novel, tells us that Salim Sinai is handcuff of history. So in this novel, we notice that Salim Sinai's life is when this novel begins, Salim Sinai life were started with this history. Salim Sinai born when the India get independent. Beginning with Salim's birth on the day of India's independence, Rushdie very beautifully connects Salim's personal life with history as if history is happening for him. Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children proves that the statement of Linda Hutton that the novel is self-reflexive and lays claim to historical events and personal lives. On the other side, it is called as postmodern novel and literature also. And while we are going to understand Salim's quest for identity in the magical world of Salman Rushdie, we have to understand what is magical realism in this novel. So, magical time world refers to Indian history, which Rushdie has placed in this novel. Magical realism is the commonest genre which Rushdie uses in this novel. In Midnight Children, the reality part is the history of India, and the magical part is the story. Especially the magical part begins after the birth of 1001 midnight children who were born on the midnight stroke between 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. on India's independence dated 50. August 1947. The characters of the novel go parallel through this magical time world. The characters are so much mingled to the time world that it seems that they are the real part of Indian history. So, magical realism start with the 1001 midnight children were born, and they were connected with this realism. The magical time world of Rushdie means the magical realism, which the author has used to explore the significant events in the subcontinent history, including the war between India and Pakistan, and the independence of Bangladesh, and the emergency under Indira Gandhi and metafictional area. When we relate this novel to the concept of the metafictional area developed in it, Salim's, beside being a fictional character, is a creator of fiction. He is thus in position of power and be hence in control of time. As long as he is recreating his fictional life story, he master time and can therefore ignore uh, linearity or chronology, and uses time instead as a flexible background to his narrative. And we can say that Salim invents his narrative, thus he can also invent any time structure he wants to. The story goes according to Salim's along with the time, and he seeks his identity in that time world. So Salim seeks his identity and searches his identity by time to time, and his identity changes while time is changes according to Salim's life. And what is identity crisis? The psychological term identity crisis is defined as a period of uncertainty and confusion in which a person's sense of identity become unsure, typically due to a change in their expected aims or role in society. Erikson, who is a German-born psychologist and psychiatric psychoanalyst, known for his theory on a psychological development of human beings, coined the term. Identity develops through experience of the crisis and contradiction which every individual had to overcome in order to raise the next development phase. The question of identity has remained a source of conflict and has led to wars in history. The search for and discovery of identity has been a recurrent journey throughout humanity's history, defined and explored in literary works. The in this novel, there is most important correlates of his identity presented in the novel are his personal appearance and his equivocal heritage. There is something uncanny about Salim's personal appearance and Salim's quest for identity in the magical world of Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. Salim's quest for identity is a major theme in this novel. And Salim is the protagonist in this novel, and throughout this novel, we notice that he is in a way that searching his identity, and he faces many trouble during his life. Salim's quest for identity was triggered by the shocking discovery when Mary Pereira confessed that Salim is not Ahmad and Amina's biological son. The revelation about Salim's true parentage represent a major shifting point in Salim's identity, one of which he can never return. Salim, the protagonist of the story, was born preciously at midnight, August 15th, 1947, therefore exactly as old as the independent Republic of India. He discovered that he has telephonic powers, and all children born in India between 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. On that date are imbued with special powers. Salim uses his telephonic powers to assemble confess to discover the meaning of their gift. In particular, those children born closest to the stroke of midnight and more powerful gifted than the others. Salim is the character who have telephonic power, and by that power he can hear voice of the children who were born with him. Shiva with powerful knees, Parvati had magical powers, so called as Parvati witch. Those who children with notable gifts played major roles in Salim's life. The search for original was especially important for Salim's Sinai's become of the nature of this particular gift of communication he had. But the Midnight Children's conference falls apart as the children began to go their separate ways as they were affected by the religious culture and class-based prejudice of their parents. Salim suffered from amnesia when he was hit by silver platoon in air attack during Indo-Pakistan War, and he entered a quasi-mythological exile in the jungle of Sundarbag, where he reinvented his memory. So when silver platoon hit him, he lost his power of telephonic. He lost his power of telephonic. That he can hear voice of that 1001 children. Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India, began a sterilization campaign shortly after the birth of Parvati's son Adam Sinai. The government destroyed the magician's ghetto. Parvati died while Shiva captured Salim and brought him to a forced sterilization camp where all the midnight children were sterilized and their powers were destroyed. As Salim recalls his childhood near the end of his life, he becomes aware of the symbolic and tragic role he played in history. Salim's bodily decay goes parallel with the progress of his written novel. And we also notice treatment of time and historical events, space or origin and Salim Sinai's life. On 1947 in Bombay, 1001 midnight children were born, and when Mary Pereira discovered the truth that Salim was not the true child of Ahmad and Amina. From the 12 August 1962 to 21 November 1962, for 33 days, Indira and China war occurred at the time Salim went for medical operation. From 26 March 1971 to 60 December 1971, for 8 months, India and Pakistan war occurs. And during that time, Salim lost his memory. On 1971, in India, Indira Gandhi put emergency, and when Salim met during that time, Salim met his midnight friend, and he married Parvati. And in this novel, we notice there were past, present, and future tense, which become a single entity and space in which Salim travels freely and ignoring temporal boundaries. And there were many novels where quest for identity represent as major theme. In V.S. Naipaul's House for Mrs. Biswai and Anita Desai's Bye Bye Blackbird. There were the protagonists search for their real identity. In V.S. Naipaul's A House for Mrs. Biswai, V.S. Naipaul is deeply involved in the colonized people's quest for order and identity. He makes such aspect aspect is central in his novel. A House for Mrs. Biswas in a partly autobiographical one. It deals with the strains of troubled past and the attempt to find a purpose in life. Mr. Biswas and prominent character of the novel tries to liberate from dependence by searching a house for him. The novel depicts Mrs. Biswas' struggle to safeguard his own identity in the heterogeneous environment and his attempt to create an authentic and think selfhood. And in the Anita Desai's Bye Bye Blackbird, we also notice a theme as a search as a quest for identity. Anita Desai explored the issue of identity in terms of individual, social, racial, and national identity. Adit Dev and Sarah, who were the major characters in this work, were who will suffer from fragment psyches because they tend to define themselves through a limit sense of self and external reality, ignoring or suppressing many other aspects of their exist. And conclusion. So Salim's personal identity is uh, inextricably entwined with that of India. Salim's disappointment shows the reflection of the newly forming country's own problems. Salim wishful described the timeless Colinos kid, trapped forever in the billboard but free from these revenges of time and age. Salim longs for his lost childhood in the same way as India longs back at its ancient past. Salim is linked to history by different notes of connection through manifold relationships. Salim faces multiple identity press upon him, a mirror of fragmentation and multiplicity of Indian society at the confusion of social religion, uh, para, para, parochial identities under which India suffers. So, Harold Bloom says about Midnight Children that reading Midnight Children, I do not find it dated, neither do I read it merely as elegy and eulogy to a failed experiment. It remains a celebration of India, pain to both unity and multiplicity, and both inspiration and challenge her to a new generation to supercade in it in a style. So in this novel, the protagonist Salim Sinai is his way to searching his identity. He suffers a lot, and he suffers a lot during his lifetime because. When he was born, he was mismatched with other child, and when he get younger, if Mary Pereira says that Salim was not the true child of Amina and Ahmed Sinai. And at the end of the novel, we notice that Salim get the idea, and he get the true sense of what he is, and what he is, and what is the real identity of him. Those were references. Thank you. Do you have any question?
Hina, does Salim find a clear sense of identity by the end of the story?
Uh, yes, Salim. When this novel starts, Salim was. Salim was automatically connect with history because he was born where India get independence and Salim Salim life goes parallel with history, and he find many identities throughout this novel. And at the end of this novel, he find his true identity and he finds that what he is and he is also psychological stable that he can search and he can know that what he is.
How does Salim Sinai's identity transfer throughout Midnight's Children in the context of magical realism and historical events?
Salim Sinha's identity transformed throughout Midnight Children in the context of magical realism. Magical realism is one of the major aspect of this novel because Salim's identity connect with magical realism. Salim have magical power. Salim have magical power that he can hear voices of those 1001 children who were born with him and he can hear them and at one point we note that he was he was frustrated and he was getting angry because of his magical power because those at one point that children were also also fight with Salim because Salim born with that rich family and he can he can that rich family can allow him whatever he want to do and magical realism is one of the major theme in this novel and at the end when that uh, that instrument hit his head and he lost his power that he lost his magical power and he that time he confused about his identity. So at the end, uh, we say that magical realism is connected with Salim Sinai's life, and it played a vital role of life of Salim Sinai. Thank you.
It's just the camera according to the height.
So can I start? Hello everyone. On the very second day of presentation season semester 3 in paper number 202 Indian English Literature post independence era, and my topic is the intersection of caste and gender in Meena Kandasamy's selected poems. These are my personal details. These are some of the points which I am going to discuss in my entire presentation. Beginning with the introduction of Meena Kandasamy. Ila Venil Meena Kandasamy, born in the year 1984, is an Indian poet, fiction writer, translator, and activist from Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. The poet, novelist, activist, and academic Meena Kandasamy is a one-group agitprop literary political movement. At the age of 17, Kandasamy herself began translating books by Dalit or untouchable writers and leaders into English. This awakening of her political and literary conscience took place at a time of concerted violence against the India's lowest caste. Yet, the roots of Kandasamy's rebellious streak can also be found closer to her home. So, in a way, Meena Kandasamy is one of the Dalit writers who tried to spread awareness and light upon the life of Dalits through her major and important works. As a writer, her main focus was on caste annihilation and feminism. In one of the interview, she tells James Kidd that what fired her work and politics. Kandasamy forged a career fusing activism and literature, producing two collections of works, Touch in the year 2006 and Miss Militancy in the year 2010. These both are the poetry collection by Meena Kandasamy. Touch, which was published in 2006, and it was themed around untouchable and casteism, while the another publication of poetry, Miss Militancy, published in the year 2010, and it was an exclusive work of feminism retelling of some Hindu and Tamil myth. In that interview, Meena Kandasamy interview, I don't know if I am idiotic or courageous. She tells James Kidd that I grew up in an extremely repressed Hindu family. If I did not put on the bindi, my dad would ask, "Are you thinking of a Christian boyfriend?" So that way we can find that in the last line that the roots of Meena Kandasamy's rebellious streak can also be found closer to her home, as she was writing about the marginalized and for the Dalit people. But the roots of that rebellious streak first starts from her home, because she belongs to a very repressed and orthodox Hindu family. So that way we can say that it encouraged her thought for writing about Dalits and who were marginalized. Only in her 30s, only in her mid 30s, Meena Kandasamy is building a spiky, angular, fiercely singular corpse. A precious teenage poet, she went to earn a doctorate and become an activist, a tranced critic of Hindu society. As she is writing about the Dalits, we can understand that she was criticized by many others. But a precious teenage poet, and her works are very famous because her main concern is on about casteism and feminism. Meena Kandasamy articulates the voice of the Dalits or marginalized through the mainstream protest literature of the present time. It is observed by Ujjwal Jana in his article named "The Struggle to Annihilate Caste Will Be Victorious." Meena Kandasamy in conversation with Ujjwal Jana. He rightly mentioned in the article that Kandasamy, however, sees herself less as a vernacular writer than as a writer, writing in English language to reach a global audience. Indeed, she prefers being located only within Indian writing in English and wants the whole world to listen to the often silenced voice of the Dalits and the socially ostracized. So, this one of the articles about the struggle to annihilate caste will be victorious, where Meena Kandasamy in conversation with Ujjwal Jana, and this article is written by Ujjwal Jana, and he mentioned about Kandaswamy, Meena Kandasamy, that she herself sees herself as a vernacular writer, as a writer writing in English language to reach a global audience. So her main focus was that she prefers being located only within Indian writing in English. She only wants that the whole world listen to the voice that was silenced. That were silenced or marginalized by the colonized people. Understanding caste. The caste system in India is rightly observed by Dr. Ambedkar that the caste problem is a vast one, both theoretically and practically. Practically, it is an institution that portends tremendous consequences. It is a local problem as long as caste in India does exist. Theoretically, it has defined a many great scholars who have taken upon themselves to dig into its origin. As my topic is mainly about the caste and gender intersection in Meena Kandasamy's poetry, but first we have to understand about the casteism problem in India. In Sridhar Venkatesh Ketkar's book History of Caste in India, he has given the definition of caste in chapter number 2. According to him, a caste is a social group having two characteristics. First, membership is confined to those who are born of members and includes all persons so born. The members are forbidden by an inexorable social law to marry outside the group. So, this is the definition of caste given by Sridhar Venkatesh Ketkar in his book History of Caste in India. He further explains that the word caste and subcaste are not absolute but comparative in signification. The larger group will be called a caste while the smaller group will be called a subcaste. As we know that right now we are living in 21st century, but still we have to, in one or the other way, we are still facing the problems of casteism. Understanding gender through the lens of Meena Kandasamy's poetry. Caste and gender equality literature is totally weaved around Dalit community and the life experiences, especially of the people who belong to the lower class of society. Meena Kandasamy maintains her focus in throughout her writing on caste annihilation and the issue of women's equality on par with men. Her first collection of poetry, Touch, 2006, is a scathing, militant attack on perpetuation of the social oppression of the Indian woman. It discusses the issue of social harassment of the women. Meena Kandasamy, unlike other poets, writers dealing with this subject, portrays women, particularly the Dalit women, not just as the victim of the lust of the higher caste men, but as rebels fighting against the injustice perpetrated against them and championships the cause of the equality of the women. So when we are dealing with the concept of gender, we have to understand that what is Meena Kandaswamy's views upon that, and he explains his views about how gender and feminism is there in his work. So her collection of poetry Touch is the best example of that, in which he explained about the issue of sexual harassment of the women. some of the major works by Meena Kandasamy, and in the poetry, Touch and Miss Militancy, two collections of poetry, and another one is This Poem Will Provoke You, or other poems. While in the novels, The Gypsy Goddess, When I Hit You, or a portrait of the writer as a young wife, and Exquisite cadavers, while the non-fiction essays and biography, in that a young Kali, a Dalit leader of the organic protest, and the other is The Orders Were to Rape You, Tigress in the Tamil Ilam struggle. So she written so many different genres, poetry, novels, and non-fiction also. Analysis of some selected poems by Meena Kandasamy. In Meena Kandasamy's well-known poem Eklavyam, we find casteism and inequality in the following poetic. Besides, fascist Dronacharya's warrant left-handed treatment. Kandasamy reveals modern Dronacharya's treatment to the Dalit candidates. Dronacharya is the symbol of an ideal teacher who has given good knowledge of human values to the each and every candidate without any indifference among the pupils, without any intentions, hopes, and expectations. He donated his archery knowledge to all his pupils. But the untouchable Eklavyam learned archery knowledge only by observing the acts and actions of Pandavas without attending the class. By birth, Eklavya is an intelligent child. The brilliance of Eklavyam, Dronacharya didn't like extraordinary intelligence and his bright future in an archery field. The only reason was that he belonged to lower caste. So here is the example of one of the poem Eklavyam by Meena Kandasamy, that how the issue or the issue of caste is presented in this poem. Kandasamy's Touch anthology indicates the modern Dalit revolution in each poetic words. That indicates revolutionary language which inspires the readers to protest exploitations and injustice, self-centeredness and corruption. Continue with this. In one of her poems in Touch, entitled Songs of Summer, Meena Kandasamy rebukes the patriarchal society for treating the woman as its slave and a desired object. To make her yours and yours alone, you pushed her deep into harms, where she should see the sunlight only from the lattice windows. Domesticated into drudgery, she was just another territory worn out by wars, a slave who maintained your numbers. The poet criticizes the society for not treating a woman as a woman. The male-dominated society recognizes a woman as a sister, a wife, a mother, and also a goddess, but never as a woman herself. A woman's goodness is graded upon her degree of submission and servitude to her father, husband, brothers, sons, and almost every other man in her family and society. So, Meena Kandasamy explains the issue and problem of caste and we can say gender in two of her poems. From the perspective of caste, we have seen Eklavya poem, that how Eklavya has to suffer because Dronacharya rejected to teach him. And another we have seen is Songs of Summer. In that, Meena Kandasamy talks about that how we see woman as its slave and desired object. Concluding the presentation, through the upper caste women as well as the lower caste women are the victims of the gender discrimination. The plight of the Dalit women is far worse than that of the upper caste women. A Dalit woman is considered as other, even amongst women of all caste. To conclude, gender discrimination is an omnipresent social evil which is very much prevalent in the society even in the days of contemporary and today. Meena Kandasamy espouses the cause of the gender equality in her poetic discourse Touch by dissenting the matrix of female suppression and expressing her concerns about it. These are some of the references which I have taken, and now I am open for questions.
Hetal. How does Kandasamy use language and imagery to convey the complexity of caste and gender dynamics in her poem?
Okay. So Meena Kandasamy used, we can say, very open language to express her views upon the complexities of caste and gender dynamics in her poem. And when I was reading that link about Meena Kandaswamy's interview, If I Am Idiotic or Courageous, she explained that she had faced violence in her own marriage. So that is why, in one or the other way, she wants to bring all these things and all her personal experience in her works, and that is why she uses that kinds of bold language and open language to especially convey the message that how the caste and gender dynamics are still prevailing in our society. So that is how she used that language to convey her message.
My question is, do the poem challenge or deconstruct traditional notion of caste and gender in any poem of Meena Kandasamy?
Yes, definitely. Meena Kandaswamy's poems obviously challenges the deconstruct traditional notions of caste and gender, and even we can say in the introduction of Meena Kandaswamy that her main focus was on to deconstruct the violence that women are facing in one or the other way. So that is why we can say that her poems challenges the deconstruct traditional notions of caste and gender. So this the answer of this question would be yes. In many of her works, we can find that. Okay, so I hope that my answer satisfied you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Gopi Dervaliya. Today I am going to deal with this topic, Magical Realism in Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. These are my personal information. This is the roadmap of my presentation. First is about the author. Second is about the novel, Midnight's Children. then magical realism in Midnight Children, and then history and fiction, and then conclusion. First is about the author. Here is the brief introduction of Salman Rushdie, born in Bombay, India, and Indian-born writer whose allegorical novels examine historical and philosophical issue by means of surreal characters, brooding humor, and an effusive and melodramatic prose style. His treatment of sensitive, religious, and political subjects made him a controversial figure. In August 2022, Rushdie was attacked and seriously injured while on stage in New York. He had been scheduled to give a speech about the United States being a refuge for exiled artists. Rushdie faced a long recovery and ultimately lost one eye. Rushdie received many awards, such as the Booker Prize in 1981 for Midnight's Children. Here is the brief information of the novel Midnight's Children. Is a groundbreaking novel written by Salman Rushdie and published in 1991. It stands as a seminal work in contemporary literature and is known for its rich fusion of history, magic, and politics. The narrative revolves around the life of Saleem Sinai, who is born at the stroke of midnight on India's Independence Day in 1947. As the story unfolds, Rushdie masterfully weaves together Salim's personal journey with the uh, tumultuous political and social changes in post-independence India, creating a mesmerizing tapestry of magical realism that offers a unique perspective on the country's history and identity. The novel has been celebrated for its intricate narrative structure, allegorical depth, and exploration of the complexities of a nation's birth and identity. What is magical realism? So magical realism is a literary genre. It combines the elements uh, supernatural, magical, and also the fantastical with the everyday world, blurring the lines of reality and history. So, magical realism, and marvelous realism are highly disputed terms, not only due to their complicated history, but also because they encompass many variants. Their wide scope means that they often appear to encroach on other genres and terms. The term magic realism was coined by German art critic Franz Ruh in 1925 to describe a tendency in German painting which demonstrated an altered reality. Some writers interview in an ever shifting pattern, sharply attacked realism in representing ordinary events and descriptive detail together with fantastic and dreamlike elements, as well as with the materials derived from myth and fairy tales. Example of magical realism uh, include Gabriel Garcia Marquez' 100 Years of Solitude, in which characters experiences magical realism, and this novel Rushdie's Midnight Children. In which historical elements and historical elements connected with this magical realism. How does magical realism differ from other literary genres such as fantasy and science fiction? Any genres of fiction can get at truths. Some science fiction and fantasy do so and are serious fiction. Some scientific fiction and fantasy are escapist, but magical realism is always
check internet if it is working. Is it disconnected? Was it with the proper ID or 1 GB limit was there or no that one? Okay. Okay.
Okay. How does magic realism differ from other literary genres such as fantasy and science fiction? So, in which science fiction and fantasy are always speculative, they are always positing that some aspects of objective reality were different. Magical realism is not speculative and does not conduct thought experiments. Instead, tells its stories from the perspective of people who live in our world and experience a different reality from the one we call objective. If there is a ghost in a story of magical realism, the ghost is not a fantasy element but a manifestation of the reality of people who believe in and have real experiences of ghosts. Magical realistic fiction depicts the real world of people whose reality is different from ours. It's not a thought experiment, it's not speculation. Magical realism endeavors to show us the world through other eyes. Magical realism in Midnight Children. This is all about how Salman Rushdie used magical realism in this novel Midnight Children. Rushdie adopts the device of magical realism in Midnight Children. Magical realism is a term originally coined by German out critic Franz Roh in 1925 to describe the tendencies in the work of certain German painters in the early 20s. Salman Rushdie has written critically acclaimed magazine realist novels. His Midnight Children, Shame and the Satanic Verses incorporate the technique of magic realism. While reading The Midnight Children, we find that the whole novel is perfect combination of reality and imaginary, between the real and the unreal. There are many places in Midnight Children where Rushdie used the device of magic realism for the framework of the novel. When we go through the novel, we find that Saleem Sinai, the protagonist of the novel, he has the gift of having an incredible sense of smell, which allows him to determine others' thoughts and emotions. This gift of Salman is the same. This gift of Salim is the same to that of his grandfather. Adim Aziz, who also had the same large nose and a magical gift. In the novel, we see Adam's incredible sense of smell. Magic realism is a mythical movement connected with a style of writing or a performance that incorporates magical or paranormal events into realistic narrative without questioning the questionability of the events. Magic realism is related to but characteristics from surrealism due to its focus on the material object and the actual existence of things in the world, as opposed to the more cerebral, psychological, and subconscious reality that the surrealists explored. Salim's oddly unreliable narrative also calls into question readings of Midnight Children as magic realism. A defining trait of magic realism is that its supernatural elements are admitted, accepted, and integrated into the rationally and materialistic of literary realism. History and fiction in Midnight Children. In Imaginary Homelands, Rushdie writes that history is always ambiguous, facts are hard to establish, and capable of being given many meanings. Reality is built on our prejudices, misconceptions, and ignorance, as well as on our perspectiveness and knowledge. The reading of Salim's unreliable. The protagonist of Salman Rushdie's novel, Salim Sinai, and through him, Rushdie tries to make the connection between historical and personal. These boundaries between historical and personal in the novel is blurred in such a way that historical becomes personal and personal becomes historical, and what is exactly personal and historical remain unclear for the reader. Salim Sinai's life is connected to history in such a way that it cannot be separated. So, Rushdie, in the very beginning of the novel, tells us that Salim Sinai is handcuffed to history, beginning with Salim's birth on the day of India's independence. Rushdie very beautifully connects Salim's personal life with history as if history is happening for him. His rewriting of Indian history is the part of subaltern historiography from the viewpoint of an individual. Salman Rushdie says that history is not only which is documented in historical archives or written in our history books, but it is also which lives in the mind of people who saw it happening. Thus, there are alternative histories also that are based on memories. Here is the another notable elements of magical realism is the pickle. Salim Sinai, the narrator of the novel, he is born with a pickle jar on his head. The pickle jar is a symbol of Salim's alienation and isolation. It also represents the burden of history that he carries as Midnight's child. The talking pickles also play an important role in Salim's development as a storyteller. The pickle tells Salim stories about the history of India and the world, which helps Salim to understand his own place in the world. The power of storytelling. Rushdie uses the pickle stories to explore the power of storytelling to shape our understanding of the world. And then the importance of memory. The pickle stories help Salim to remember his past and to understand his own identity. Chutney is a cold sauce made from fragmented fruit, vinegar, sugar, and spices. It is sold in jars, and Indians often eat it with meat or cheese. In Midnight Children, Salim Sinai learns the secret of pickling the best chutney from Mary, his erstwhile Aya. The secret is that because Mary puts her feelings inside them. The pickling process for the Indian chutney is the mixture of all sorts of fragmented sources. In Salim's mind, the chutney recalls his own feeling and memory of the past history, the ups and downs in his whole life. To conclude, Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie is a masterful example of a magical realism, skillfully weaving together magical elements with the ordinary, thereby creating a narrative that explore complex theme of identity, history, and the intertwining of the personal and the political. The magical abilities of the Midnight Children and surreal elements like the talking pickles served not merely merely as a fantastical occurrence, but as a metaphors for the multifaceted nature of India's post-independence experience. Salman Rushdie's use of magical realism in this novel enhance its richness and depth, making it a thought-provoking and unique work that continues to captivate readers with its imaginative storyline and algorithmic depth. These are my references. If you have any question, you can ask me.
Gopi, my question is, how does Rushdie use magic realism in Midnight's Children?
Yes, Rushdie use magic realism in Midnight Children that Salman Rushdie explore explore the theme of variety of themes and also the partition of India and through this magical realism, Salman Rushdie also explore the uh, contradictory relationship between history and uh, memory. So we can say that this magical realism in this novel, Midnight Children, play a very important role.
Gopi, my question for you is that what is the relationship between magic realism and storytelling in Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children?
Okay, magic realism and storytelling are both are closely in this novel, Midnight's Children. Salman Rushdie uses this magic realism to create the to create the fantastic world in which everything is possible and also Rushdie also in this realism in this novel uh, serves serves the idea of serves the we can see that idea of storytelling itself. So the relationship between magic and realism and storytelling, magic realism and storytelling in Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children are very closely connected with each other.
So, in the citations, you have used one article, and say, for example, this again very simple thing, but why this mistake keeps on repeating? Here you see this that the names are given with the article is cited. So it is first name is with S. So you are supposed to cite with the same pattern only. You can't change the pattern. The way there are two writers, so you can't make Dr. N.H. Kallur first. First name has a very it has a more importance. 70% share goes to the first name, 30% to another one. So first name is very, and alphabetically it goes with the first name. You can't change the name sequence the way it is written in the articles. So it will go with Srinivas, and that way only you have to put in the your citation also. Yes.
Indianness in Nissim Ezekiel's poem, The Patriot. This is my personal information. Table of content. In this presentation, I will discuss about poet's introduction, background of the poet, poem's overview of the Patriot, Indianness, about what is the Indianness, and Indianness in the poem The Patriot, and conclusion. So first, poet's introduction. Nizam Ezekiel is a poet and a scholar born December 24, 1924. He belongs to Marathi-speaking Israel Jewish community, which never experienced anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a term for that reflects that hatred for the Jews, and uh, Bangladeshi academic Kaiser Haq says that he naturalized the language to the Indian situation and breathed life into the Indian English poetic tradition. Uh, Nizim Ezekiel worked as a copywriter and manager for a picture frame company in 1954 to 59. He also co-founded the literary monthly imprint in 1961. He acted as a mentor to young poets such as Dom Morris, Adil Jusawala, and Gayu Patel. Many of his poems, such as The Night of the Scorpion and That Supreme Idiot to Jingoism, The Patriot, all are set works in Indian and British schools. Ezekiel received the Sahitya Academy Cultural Awards in 1983 and also the Padma Shri, India's highest civilian honor award in 1988. Now the background of the poet. He was born in a modestly bourgeois Jewish family in 16 December 1924. Ezekiel belonged to the Marathi-speaking Ban Israeli Jewish community in Bombay, which at the time was 20,000 of strong now, but in 2004 it only remained 5,000. Unlike a majority of Ben Israeli Jews who returned to Israel following partition and Indian independence, Ezekiel's family stayed on. He did touch up that background of Ezekiel is also reflected in his some of his work by the alienation that we can feel in his some work such like the poem background casually. He in that poem says that my ancestors among the castes were alliance crushing seed for bread. In that poem, he also says that I have made my commitments now. This is one to stay where I am, as others choose to give themselves in some remote and backward place. My backward place is where am I. This is how he deals with his background and his sentiment towards India. So now, what is Indianness? Indianness may be a very controversial term. It comprises of the cultural patterns of India together with rooted Indian ideas. These ideals and ideologies plays their respective role altogether styles of a social scenarios. But Indianness is not only about national identity. It's not only about traditions, culture, and our wonderful civilization. It's not about the way we live and the way we conduct ourselves. It's not only about the best of the religion as well. So what is Indianness and what is the thing when we are specific to a certain context? Indianness in Indian English literature. So Indianness is an amalgam of all the things that are mentioned about above. It's an idea that strikes one's mind and compels the emotional outburst in a person to relate the elements involved in a particular event. In this case, it's literary work. While Indianness as an idea can be a perfect mixture of all the things mentioned about, anything can construct the simple idea Indianness until it connects the reader's mind with India. India that is a thought, not merely a nation. So that's how we can connect the Indianness to literary works. That it is not about a specific civilization or culture or tradition, but when we connect all of the things that are in rooted in the Indian. India, then only we can say that it is reflecting the Indianness. Now, the brief overview of the poem Patriot. In the Patriot, the speaker is engaging in a conversation with someone, we can say a visitor. He proclaims his commitment to peace and non-violence and reflects Mahatma Gandhi's ideals. The speaker expresses disappointment in people's continuous conflicts despite Gandhi's teaching and laments the modern generation's disregard for ancient Indian wisdom. So, in this poem, he is very idealistic. The speaker of this poem is very idealistic. He believes in a Gandhian philosophy and he is a supporter of non-violence, and he is also a person who is very proud of the old Indian wisdom. In the poem, these are the line that is reflecting that I am a standing for peace and non-violence. Why world is fighting? Why all people of world are not following Mahatma Gandhi? I am simply not understanding. He humorously contrasts his attention to improve his English and his frequent use of inappropriate language. So the speaker is proud of his Indianness, and he is also believer of the old Indian wisdom, but he is also trying to improve the English by reading English newspaper, and he's saying that other day I am reading newspaper. Every day I am reading Times of India to improve my English language. The poem shifts between discussing political matters, lassi, and the speaker's concern about India's relations with Pakistan and China. The poem ends with the speakers emphasizing brotherhood in India. So, Indianness in this poem, The Patriot, uh, uh, Ezekiel's poem, The Patriot, expresses his deep concern for the contemporary problems, not the contemporary still, but when Ezekiel is writing this poem in 1977, he is expressing this problems of India in the lines of poem. He says that Pakistan behaving like this, China behaving like that, it is making me very sad, I am telling you. So he is expressing his thoughts about his contemporary problems, or we can say that the problems that discussed by the people. So we can say that this is still relevant. We can say by if we talk about the recent event of Pakistan India match of World Cup. This is still relevant that India is still Indian people is still think like that, and they discuss those things. And the use of typical Hindi words like Ramraj, Lassi, Ashram, Guru, Chapati, Pan, further add the Indian flavor to the English language. So in this poem, he uses all those words that makes this pretty Indian, and how the people of India talk in while they speak in English. Even the language of Ezekiel's poem contains a large amount of Indian English. The colloquial language and the frequent use of present tense, featuring the use of Indian English by the native Indians. The two are the very prominent features of Indianness in Ezekiel's poetry. His poem, like very Indian poems in Indian English, The Patriot, The Professor, and many others such as poems, works as a subtle comment on English and the way it is used for a communication in Indian society. So if we talk about further about this Indianness, then this poem of Ezekiel, the entertainment is also reflecting Indianness in a particular manner. Ezekiel's poem entertainment is one of the best example of the perfection in his art of observating the Indian society. He seems to be the master in penetrating the selfish aspect of the gathered crowd, which gets dispersed by the time of its anticipated payment to the street show they have recently enjoyed. Uh, on the other hand, he penetrates the hardship of the life of the performer who do not have even a single line on their face, but ironically, the monkey is said for its performance has remained unpaid. So the lines of the this poem is goes like anticipating time for payment, the crowd dissolves, some in shame part with the smallest coin they have, the show moves on. So we can hear the reflection of Indian society or Indian people is also reflecting, and we can say that this reflects also the Indianness. The conclusion. M.K. Naik, in his book Indian English Poetry, reminds the readers of Longfellow's wonderful idea: nationality in literature is good, but universality is better. An Indian will read the book because of the content that the English language often observes, and a foreigner will read the book because of something new that he can learn, and the language further simplifies that learning adventure. So we can say that the use of this literature or literary work is also helpful to create a universality by talking many themes and exploring many themes, and the Indianness is also that type of theme that can be explored in the literature, and some of these two novels also express that Indian flavor in that work. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie and Gun Island by Amitav Ghosh also have that Indianness of the culture, and it also have the universal themes that they have collected so much in those works, and it reflects the Indianness and Indian flavor. So this is my references, and thank you. Now you can ask me questions.
Ghanshyam, my question is that how does the poet use language and imagery to convey the complexities of Indianness?
The use of language, that we can say that you use the word lassi and guru, or the ashram word, and then there is a Ram Rajya word, and also there is this the language of this grammatically this present tense, that and also this he says in his line that why the people are fighting. So those type of words and reflects that Indianness and the imagery. We can say that how he is conveying that in his poetry. So in his poem, this patriot, he is reflecting this idealistic person, and in the poem entertainment, he is reflecting that street show. So that's how he is representing that imagery in his poem.
Ghanshyam, my question is that how does the poem portrays the patriot's attitude towards his country?
So in this poem, the patriots, the attitude of this person, the narrator, is pretty much clear that he is very idealistic and proud of the Indianness, or he is proud of his country, and he says that I am a non-violent person, and why everyone is not following the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. So he is a person that is very proud. But if we can say that he is also talking about the issue of Pakistan and China, that why they are behaving like this, and that's how uh, he is also um, he's also bringing this his contemporary problems, but he is very idealistic person. We can not say that that he is very thoughtful about, if we can say, he's not very critical about his ideas, that he is only the proud of old Indian wisdom, or the proud of nation, but he is not that much critical. So we can say that. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Gayatri Nimavat. On the second day of our presentation, I am going to deal with the topic Problems of Communal Divide and Tension in Final Solution by Mahesh Dattani. So these are my personal information.
Share that tab.
So now is it? So the table of content, first communal divide in India, then Gujarat riots of 2002, then communal divide in the play, and then Train to Pakistan by Khushwant Singh. So, first introduction. Communal divide and communal tension are two of the most pressing problems facing India today. Communal divide refers to the deep-rooted division between different religion and ethnic group in society. Communal tension is the conflict and violence that arise as a result of these divisions. Mahesh Dattani's play, Final Solution, is a powerful exploration of the problem of communalism in India. The play tells the story of a Hindu family who is caught in the crossfire of a communal violence. The play shows how communalism can poison relationships, destroy communities, and lead to devastating consequences. Dattani's play is a stark reminder of the danger of communalism and the importance of working toward a more inclusive and harmonious society. It is a play that is more relevant than ever today, as Indians continue to grapple with the problem of communalism. Then about author Mahesh Dattani. Mahesh Dattani he is a well-known Indian director, actor, and the first playwright in English to be awarded the Sahitya Academy Award. His highly acclaimed play include Final Solution, Dance Like a Man, Bravely Fought the Queen, On a Muggy Night in Mumbai, Tara, 30 Days in September, and The Murder That Never Was. Dattani's plays are strongly Indian in flavor and tone, which attack the audiences because of their strong emotional appeal. He has presented a large variety of social phenomena we come across in everyday life. He has been quite audacious in staging things that are considered taboo in our society. However, there is no obscenity or vulgarity in his expression in dealing with sex related issues. His treatment of the subject is subtle, and the dialogues of his character are catchy. Then let's see the communal divide in India. India's the most problem of India is communal divide. We have many religion and many community in India. Then India, vibrant form of militant nationalism, is more accurately referred to as Hindu nationalism, extremism, or militancy than as Hindu fundamentalism. Although the Hindutva movement does see the Vedic age and its religion as the golden age of Indian harmony and spirituality, and incorporates religion practices from many Indian sects. It rarely focuses on a return to religion, scripture, or fundamentals. Hindu civilization is threatened by non-Hindu forces, including the Anglicized ways of some leaders of the Congress Party, the party of the Nehru family. In this article of Maclean, he was talking about more in favor of Hinduism, that Hindu is inferior situation by Muslim, but when we see in real life that both the community are facing problem in the same manner. So this is shown here in this article, and it is showing the communal divide in India. And since the 1947 partition of colonial India into the separate state of India and Pakistan, 1857, a major revolt that affected about a third of India, there were not many recorded instances of broad-based Hindu-Muslim violence. During the Munity, Hindu and Muslim rebels allied and fought against the British Indian colony army. In short, violent communalism is largely a recent phenomenon, a product of modernization and colonialism. Then the major event of the Final Solution, the history, the Gujarat riots of 2002. This is referred in Mahesh Dattani's play Final Solution in number of ways. And These riots were a series of anti-Muslim riots that took place in the Indian state of Gujarat in February 2002. The riots were sparkled by the touching of a train carrying Hindu pilgrims, which killed 59 people. In the ensuing violence, over 100 people, mostly Muslim, were killed. On 27 February 2002, 58 people died when a train coach was burned just outside the railway station of Godhra, a small town in Gujarat. India, an altercation between a Hindu nationalist activist on the train and Muslim tea vendors in the railway station had. At least that was the perception, sparkled a fire inside the train coach. This marked the beginning of one of the worst incident of Hindu-Muslim violence since India's independence, exceptional for its scale, brutality, and the open involvement of police and ruling politicians. This is the major event of Gujarat, which represent the communality between Hindu and Muslim. In India, we have many examples of this kind of riots and this kind of communalist activities. Then communal divide in the play. Dattani's final solution is a brave attempt at portraying communal conflict in India. The play examines the liberal attitude of communalism. He is successfully in handling such a burning social issue. In the world of Indian English drama, Dattani's play emerged as a stunt that at once captures the attention of audience with the novelty of their sensational themes. The drama project two Muslim intruders in a traditional Hindu family during a communal Hindu-Muslim riot. Smita, the young daughter of Ramanik and Aruna Gandhi, reveals that she has been introduced with the two Muslim men. The old grandmother Hardika remembers the Hindu-Muslim riots at the time of partition and appears panicky. She is also shown in a flashback as a 15-year-old girl, wife Daksha. Aruna is a typical housewife. She had a meaningless and a blind faith that Lord Krishna is a real protector. Ramanik has been secretly carrying the guilt consciousness of the black deed of his ancestor. Therefore, he gives shelter to the two Muslim young men. The theme of Hindu Muslim hostility is introduced as a background of the play through the device of chorus. The men in the chorus put on Hindu mask and Muslim mask alternatively. They reveal the set view of Hindu and the Muslim towards one another. In final solution, there are many things which is shown that a very single or a very minor event taken by any community can be the reason of communal violence and can be the reason of communal divide as well. When we see the scene of remembering Javed's incident, as Bobby says, that a minor incident changed all that. We were playing cricket on our street. The postman was in a hurry and asked Javed to hand the letter over to the owner. Javed took the letter and opened the gate. A voice boomed, "What do you want?" Javed holding out the letter, his usual firmness vanishing in a second. "Leave it on the wall," the voice ordered. Javed backed away, really frightened. The man came out with a cloth, wiped the letter before picking it up. He then wiped the spot on the wall the letter was lying on, and he whipped the gate. We all heard a prayer bell ringing continuously, not loud but distinct. We had heard the bell so often every day of our life that it didn't mean anything. But at the moment, we all heard only the bell. The next day, I found someone had dropped pieces of meat and bones into his backyard. So, from this very little incident, we can say that a very little thing also can be the reason of communal violence. Then Daksha's diary portrays the theme of Hindu-Muslim riots as an integral part of the partition. Daksha recorded the incident as a most terrible thing. Though every day was awake waiting for midnight, it was not joy, but probably the lighting and bloodshed that kept them alarmed. After 40 years of independence, Hardika again witnesses a Hindu-Muslim communal riot. The incident of two Muslim young men entering her house for safety reveals that the episode is turned this time. This time, it was not the people with the stones. It was those two boys running away who frightened me. Those two who were begging for their lives. Tomorrow they will hate us for protecting them. Asking for help makes them feel they are lower than us. I know their rage is pride. So many are proud to be religious. Aruna too is such a character in Final Solution, and from the scene that when she is proud of Hindu practices and is hesitate to give Javed and Bobby a glass of water to quench their thirst. Then, through the dialogue of Javed and Bobby, we can find many communal divide in from the play. When Javed and Bobby were about to leave the house, Bobby picked up the image of Krishna, which was tiny, and seated it in his palm with the intention to ridicule Aruna's faith and break her pride. He is, sarcastically says, "Bobby, see, I am touching God." And then all chorus says, "We are not idol breaker." Bobby says, "Your God, my flesh is holding him. Look, Javed," and he does not mind. Then Daksha hates a Muslim because her father was killed in a communal riots, and because her overtures of friendship to Zarin, a young Muslim girl, were rejected after other communal riot that raised Zarin's father's shop, and which incidentally was brought by Daksha's father-in-law. Javed, the young Muslim fundamentalist and a member of a gang, has long nursed a resentment against the world because of the otherness and the demonization of his community and religion identity by the dominant community. Ramnik Gandhi, Daksha's son, is trying to atone for the sin committed by his father and grandfather, and therefore becomes a conscious secularist. Daksha tells us about the riots in which her father was killed, how she and her mother took refuge from the flying stone in the puja room, and how her faith in God, represented by the idol of Krishna, was suddenly gone, never to return. These things have not changed that much after 40 years too, as the play has opened in the midst of another riot, and a curfew is on in the small town of Amargaon, where the Gandhis live. Daksha's diary has the usual retellings of communal hatred and discretion of religious significance. In this play, Mahesh Dattani tried to portray various religious divide through various characters like Smita, Ramanik Gandhi, Aruna, Bobby, and Javed. The same character Daksha, with two names, Daksha and Hardika, shows how the attitude of the same person to communal tension has changed over the year. Two Muslim boys, Bobby and Javed, take shelter in Ramanik's house during communal violence in the town. The dialogue between these two boys with a member of Ramanik's family reveals the deep-rooted distrust between two communities. Aruna, Ramanik's wife, argues with her husband and daughter. Smita against giving them shelter in their house when Aruna forbids Bobby and Javed to touch the water with which she baths the gods. It shows the attitude of Aruna to her religion. The relationship among the member of Ramnik's family is affected by the communal feeling prevalent in our society. But Dattani works out a solution by making people understand the evil inherent in such kind of communal hatred between two major community in our country. Then, as an example, we can take the Khushman Singh's work, Train to Pakistan. It was published in 1956 and soon attained an iconic status, initially titled Mano Majra. It was published in English and became the first novel to deal with the theme of partition. Its title was later changed to Train to Pakistan, as it was justifying the theme of the novel. Born in 1950 in Hadli, Punjab, Khushwant Singh didn't suffer much personally during partition, but being witness to those times and hearing personal accounts from survivor, he understood the tragedy very well, and then he wrote this work. The tragic partition of British India into India and Pakistan resulted in the movement of people unprecedented in the world history, as more than 10 million people had migrated to and fro, but surprisingly enough, it missed the attention of the mainstream historians. Nevertheless, this predicament is addressed and taken care of with utmost precious and scholarship in the partition fiction like Train to Pakistan, as at the very beginning in presents an articulate picture of partition that the summer before communal rights precipitated by reports of the proposed division of the country into Hindu India and a Muslim Pakistan had broken out in Calcutta, and within a few months the death toll had mounted to several thousand. Muslims said the Hindus had planned and started the killing. According to the Hindus, the Muslims were to blame. The fact is, both sides killed, both shot and stabbed and spread and clubbed, both tortured, both raped from Calcutta. The riots spread north and east and west to Noakhali and East Bengal, where Muslim massacred Hindus, to Bihar, where Hindus massacred Muslims. Hundreds of thousands of Hindus and Sikhs who had lived for a century on the northwest frontier abandoned their homes and fled towards the protection of predominantly Sikh and Hindu communities in the east. Along the way, at fords, at crossroads, at railroad station, they collided with panic Muslims feeling to satisfy in the West. So, in conclusion, after all this discussion, it can be said that Mahesh Dattani's final solution is a powerful and disturbing show how divide people, poison relationship, and lead to devastating consequences. Communal violence is a complex phenomena with many contributor factors, including religious extremist, political manipulation, and social and economical inequalities. The Tanis play highlight the role of these factors in contributing the communal rights and the devastating impact that they can have on families and communities. Final solution is a warning about the danger of communalism and the importance of working toward a more inclusive and harmonious society. The play urges us to reflect on the root causes of communalism and to commit to working toward a more just and equitable society where people of all faith and background can live together in peace. These are my work citation, and thank you. Now, if you have any question, then you can ask.
Gayatri, my question is what does the play suggest about the role of women in preventing communal violence?
Of women in preventing communal violence in the play, Mahesh Dattani tried to show two type of women and two side of women. One is showing as the victim of something happening wrong with them as communal violence, and one as the character of Smita, who has a voice, who has their own her own voice, and she can be the uh, she can be the voice of a female and woman who can preventing communal violence.
Gayatri, my question is how does the communal divide happen and how it is shown in the play Final Solution by Mahesh Dattan?
In the play Final Solution, there were so many reasons for happening communal divide, like social and economic class system, then as a religious extremist, then violence, and then superiority of one religion and minority of other religion. The both the religion or both the community feels that, and like that the communal divide happen in the Final Solution. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Today is the second day of presentation season 3. Myself, Drashti Joshi, and today's presentation topic is exploring the central theme of communal rights in final solution. This is my personal information. So, these are some points to ponder which I am going to discuss in today's presentation. First is introduction of author and play. According to M. Srimala Mahesh Dattani, who is born in 1958, is the most influential and impressive dramatist in the contemporary Indian English dramatic arena. So he was a prominent writer, and he was also a director of Final Solution movie. And the scenarios of Indian drama has transformed with his skills and innovative techniques. He has penned several dramas which point out diverse social controversies. So Mahesh Dattani's plays are mostly focused on the themes like gender biases, sexuality, women's and also communal rights. These are some of his famous themes. Final Solution is the fifth play of Mahesh Dattani. It was staged after the Mumbai riots. The play draws to light the communal riots between the Hindus and Muslims. According to Uma Devi, Dattani's Final Solution is a three-act play which handles the theme of communal riots and forced resentiments. It was first performed at Guru Nanak Bhavan, Bangalore on 10th July 1993. In India, the coexistence of multi-religion and multicultural has been a curious topic for the world. This play also performed several times, but the confrontation of Hindus and Muslims has been a dynamic issue more than the other religions to each other. The play opens with two Muslim young boys, Bobby and Javed. So this play started with some chorus and other things, and then we introduced by two young boys, Bobby and Javed. They were Muslim boys, and they were seeking for the shelter in Hindu's house, and they were taking a shelter in house of Gandhi's. And after that, with the entry of two Muslim young boys within the house, the family's drama began. After they enter in the house, the family drama begins. Like there were so many conversations going on. Here, the different religion, cultures, food habits, attitudes, reassessment of each other, personal whims, and psyche confronts each other. The Tani takes the opportunity to move free into the time and closely structurize all such rights in the past and the influence to shape character and communities. The play unfolded itself with Daksha. So this is also a prominent character of this play, Daksha, a 15-year-old young bride. Reading her diary, Daksha transforms to Hadika in her old age. So in this play, there were two characters like Daksha and Hadika. They both are the same person. One is showing the character of 15-year young bride, and one is one is older version of Daksha. Daksha slash Hadika may be called the hand of Muslim majority. She is the grandmother of Gandhi's. Daksha is hostile towards a Muslim because her father was killed in a communal riots. So Daksha has some biases, or we can say her some problem with Muslim community because her father was died in some communal riots, and she also overtures a friendship with Zareen, a young Muslim girl. Her family comprised of Ramnik Gandhi, her son, a liberal; Aruna, her daughter-in-law, a devout Hindu, who is highly superstitious, and her granddaughter, Smita. So Smita is a character who plays a dynamic of new generation. Central theme of play, as you know, that central theme of this play is the communal rights and Hindu-Muslim hostility. Mahesh Dattani explores some possibility for solution to the problem of communal separation in the play, and ultimately suggests some remedies in this regards.
The dramatists feel that liberal outlook with pacific approaches and respect for one another's beliefs, mutual trust, and sharing of pleasures and pains can help in overcoming the man-made separation. The individual will be threatened as a human being and not as the Hindu or Muslim. So this is the historical background of play. So this play is also published in 1993, and in 1993 there were one Bombay riots were going on, and this riot was becoming the riots of communal riots. Like, since the Mumbai has seen many more terror attacks, and every time an attack has taken place through notion and devils have only reformed. So this Bombay riots were caused by the Muslim and Hindu riots, because some attack were bombed were attacked in the bomb blasts were attacked by Hindu and Muslim in the Mumbai life lived in different parts of city, like some parts of some hotels and stock exchange of Bombay Stock Exchange and Air India building. So there are some parts where bombed were attacked, and this historical background of play is also the same. The communal riots. Communal riots in final solution. According to Bhagyashree Verma, the play successfully highlighted human limitation, egocentricity, and opportunistic inclination, the issue of class, communities, and the clashes between tradition and modern life, style and value system, along with the complexities about minorities, are not restricted to only Hindus and Muslims. But these are, in fact, issues of humanity in different contexts of situation. It talks of the problem of culture supremacy, how Hindus had to undergo traumatic experience at the heart of Muslim majority. So in the play, there were also two sides of problems were there. According to Dr. R. Devanand, the role of chorus is quite significant here. Chorus changes their mask whenever the occasion demands. But ironically, the actors of the chorus remain the same. The chorus links the play with the idea of dramatic development, the notion of collaborating, identity, and manufacturing of collective concept. So this is some dialogues which were taken from the original play, Funnel Solutions. Mahesh Dattani portrays such incidents showing the Hindu and Muslim biases. When Hindu mob discuss against Muslim mob, that Hindu mob chorus 1, 2, 3. This is our land. How dare they? Chorus 1. It is in their blood. Chorus 2 and 3. It is in their blood to destroy. So they were talking about Muslims. Final solution refers to the Rath Yatra, which prompts communal riots and violence between two religious groups. While conducting Rath Yatra festival, the ideal of God travel on a chariot, rumors created gossip against Muslim. So here is the chorus of Muslim. They were talking about this Rath Yatra and attacked on the Hindu pujari. Their chariot fell in our street. Was the chariot built by us? Chorus 4. Manufacturing defect. Chorus all. We are neither idol maker nor breaker. Chorus 5. But they blamed us. Chorus 3. They says we raised their temple yesterday. According to S.T. Priya, the play shows that the cause of two-caste hatred is not only due to disbelief, but also it is the result of economy. Zarin's father collected his community people only when his shop was burnt. In the beginning, he wants to real price of his shop. So Zarin's father has he owned the shop, and this Gandhi family who burnt their shop and buy that in a low price. And in the end of the play, when Ramnik Gandhi was telling Daksha / Hardika that, I quote, and we burnt it. They had burnt in the name of communal hatred. It shows the mentally that the I are somewhere different, but the mob is ignorance. Do the work differently. So in the end, we can see how this Ramnik was having the grief. Hindu-Muslim chorus depicts the reality. The violence made by the devotees religious people, but violence affected ordinary people's life. Abhijit Pawar rightly observed that final solution has a powerful contemporary resonance as it addresses as an issue of utmost concern to our society and issues of communalism. The play presents different shades of communities, attitudes prevalent among Hindus and Muslims. In its attempt to underline the stereotypes and cliché influence the collective sensibility of community against other. Thus, final solution highlights on the problem of communal violence, communal tensions between the Hindus and Muslim in India. As Gayatri also mentioned earlier in her presentation, like there were so many riots going on in the India or in Gujarat as well. So this is also a part of that. And Mahesh Dattani was the prominent writer who talked about these riots and these things. So this slide is focused on the question, will there ever be a final solution? So according to Dashrath Gate, I was also agree. I will also agree with this person. Like he was questioning that now the question that stare at us is, can there be a solution to this larger than a life problem of communal divide and hostility which we are facing till today? So as we all know, there were so many riots going on in today's time as well. So there is this question is still remaining. Is there any final solution of this? So we can say that no, there is no final solution. One reality cannot accept another reality. Will remain pointless. Smita, Bobby, and Ramik make the plea that we need to belong to all the creation of Almighty and be concerned about the pain and pleasure, trails and tribunage, aims and aspiration of all the mankind without any selective or racial of communal grounds. So in this Hardika, Aruna, or Javed, then we hope a new pattern based on human qualities will emerge, and this will, as Bobby suggests, pave the path of the final solution. So Bobby said in this play, I quote, "The tragedy is that there is too much that is scared. But if we understand and believe in the one another, nothing can be destroyed." Puts on his footwear and looks at Hadika. "And if you are willing to forget, I am willing to tolerate." So this is the Bobby's statement. I also cited this Rakesh Sharma's documentary, which is also named as a final solution, and this documentary is based on Gujarat Godhra Kand, or we can say Godhra riots, which were happened in 2002-2003. Filmmaker Rakesh Sharma released his award-winning documentary Final Solution in 2004 on a Vimeo. Originally released in 2004, the film documents the communal violence and that broke out in Gujarat during 2002 and 2003. So this movie was initially banned in India in 2004 for fear that it might provoke communalism and radicalism. The ban was lifted in October 2004 after the sustained campaign, which include an open petition, hundreds of protest screening countrywide, multi-city signature campaign, and dozen of letters to the government sent by audience directly. So this documentary is now available on YouTube, and also the Rakesh Sharma has its own website, and there are two parts of this documentary, and you can go and watch that as well. And this was also banned, but after audience's demand, they lifted the ban of this documentary. So these are some today's relevance of final solution. Like there were also communal rights. So in today's time, there were several rights and some past rights as well. Like Manipur rights is going on 3 May 2020 through the ethnic violence erupted in India's northeastern state of Manipur between the Meitei people, who is a majority, who are living in Imphal Valley, and Kukiozo tribal community who are living in surrounding hills. So there were also riots of that. And 2022 Gujarat riot, And this riot, Nuwa riots of Haryana, which is still going on 31st July 2023, communal violence erupted in the Nuwa district of Haryana between Muslims and Hindu during an annual Brij Mandal Yatra, pilgrims organized by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, a Hindu nationalist organization. So, cause of this riots was like one person who is also a dealer of cow and other things, and he was attending this Rath Yatra, and because of that the community violence were going on, and they attacked on the Rath Yatra. So same issue were like in final solution, they were community were attacking on this Rath Yatra. This Bombay riots, as I also mentioned earlier, that 1992 and 1993 were this 900 people died. The riots were mainly due to escalation of hostiles after large scale of protest by Muslim in reaction to the 1992 Babri Masjid demolition by Hindu. So this was some riots which were in past and which also relevant in today's time. Conclusion. In conclusion, Final Solution by Mahesh Dattani is a thought-provoking theoretical work that effectively shines a spotlight on the central theme of communal rights. The play's portrayal of complex character caught in the web of religion and communal tensions serves as a compiled mirror to the real world, as also we see in last slide. As we reflect on the central theme of communal rights in Final Solution, we are reminding of enduring relevance of addressing such conflict in our society. The play encourages us to confront the challenges of religious intolerance, prejudice, and hatred, urging us to strive for greater understanding and humanity and unity as well. In this context, Final Solution stands as a powerful testament to the importance of promoting peace, empathy, and communal harmony in our diverse and multicultural world, emphasizing that the ultimate solution lies in fostering a more inclusive and harmonious society. So, in final solution, as we know that there were no final solution were discussed, but though we can have a peaceful life with unity and humanity. So these are some references which I have used in this presentation. Thank you. Now I'm open for question. If you have any question, then you can ask.
Drashti, as the title suggests, how does the play Final Solution provide a solution for a communal difference and outrage?
Okay. So, as I also said in my presentation, that there is a no final solution for given in this play. Like Mahesh Dattani was also talking about this Bobby and Javed. So there were also differences in their character as well. Like Javed was very aggressive because of his whole thing of brainwash, and everything. And Bobby was intellectual and understanding person. He was also trying to convince him. And another character like Ramnik Gandhi, who is also liberal person, but in the very sense we all know that he was suffering from guilt of his father and his grandfather. So yeah, that's the thing. And also the title Final Solution, if you see the page, or we can say a front page of this book, you will find that on the final solution there is a no mark. So yeah, there is no final solution of this. Thank you. I hope you are satisfied with my answer.
Rushdie, my question is, how does the play Final Solution delve into the personal aftermath of communal rights on individual's life?
As I said, that this Daksha and Hadika, this character, she was suffering from the like his mind were very sorry. Her mind is very like she has a grief, or we can say she has very deep we can say a manipulation, or we can say his sorry, her biases were towards this Muslim community is because of her father died in communal rights of this Hindu and Muslim. So because of that, she was also suffering from this thing, and other characters were also suffering from such things. Like Smita also has something, but she has a idea of today's generation. Like she doesn't care about this riots and other things. And this Smita, sorry, yeah, Aruna, who is the mother of Smita, she is very spiritual, and she also believe in such things. But after incident will happen, like this Bobby were taking God in his hand and saying things. So yeah, that's the individual's personality were changed during this communal rights were going on. Thank you so much.
I'm audible? Camera is okay, sir? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bhavyata Kukadiya, and today I will present a presentation on feminist reading in the Kamala Das and introduction. So let's start. Uh, my personal information. Table of content. First, introduction of the author, brief introduction of poem, what is feminism, and feminist reading in the poem, and conclusion, and then references. Kamala Das, very was a Indian writer who talked openly and honestly about women's feeling and desire. Uh, she has a many name in the Malayalam. When she write in her native language, she write give name as a uh, um, Madhavi Kuti, and her other name is Muslim name is Kamala Suraya. She and her follow writers choose to share their personal story rather than writing about Indian during British rule. Kamala Das wrote many things like the poems, stories, memories, and essays. Her writings were known for being bold and unapologetic. Most of her poetry was in English, and it gained a lot of attention. She broke away from English modernist technique and embraced her distinctly Indian persona. Her poetry is deeply emotional and raw. Her writings challenge the traditional roles and expectations for women. Some people admired her, but other were
upset by her openness about subjects like sexuality and women's experience. Kamala Das had a big impact on Indian literature, especially in the realm of feminism and post-colonial literature. Some brief introduction about the poem and introduction. The poem explores a powerful feminist themes and highlights the need for equal rights and freedom for women. As we as I talk that Kamala Das is very famous for this theme for writing. Kamala Das' poem serves as a clear feminist statement advocating for free choice in all aspects of women's lives. The poem places particular emphasis on the institution of marriage, shedding light on the constraints imposed on women. In the poem, she highlights the role of man and woman in the society and highlighting the disparities and expectation placed on each gender. The poet reveals how societal rules and norms infringe on the freedom of women, especially in the context of marriage. The what is the feminism as a feast on? Feminism is the set of belief and ideas that belong to the broad social and political movement to achieve greater equality for a woman. As its governing ideology, feminism gives shape and direction to the woman's movement, and of course, is shaped by it. Women seek equality in all spheres of life and use a broad array of strategies to achieve that goal. The feminist reading in the poem and introduction. Knight Fatima said in the article that the poem and as introduction is much anthologist, anthologized poem can be studied from the feminist concern. We can study it in terms of women's culture, which include things like biology, language, and the way people think in connection of the society. It talks about the woman. Kamala Das' rebellion against patriarchy is to secure an identity for herself in male dominant world. As we can see in the first line or two line in the poem, she writes that I don't know politics, but I know the name of those in the power. The line shows that the concern politics is country where politics is generally considered a man. And where woman is just victim of it. When in contemporary times also we can see that many of men are in the politics, the number of women is very less. uh, in the this line, I was child, and later they told me I grew, for I became tall. My limbs swelled, and one or two places sprouted hair. When I asked for love, not knowing what else to ask for, he draws a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. He did not beat me, but my sad woman body felt so beaten. The weight of my breast and womb crushed me. I shrank pitifully. The poet sheds light upon the temporal sequence of growth and maturity of hers, who represent every woman. In this poem, Kamala Das give her inner feelings. As I read some articles, as I can say that she candidly writes about the process of maturity and manifestation of changes in the woman body. Girls get maturities, she longs for love, and in a traditional society like India, she get married to man who is inexperienced in the art of love, making and in dark about the psyche of woman. Hence, in Dast's first sexual encounter with the husband, she gets irritated and feels that in matter of sex, male dominance. This sense of subordination makes her rebel. In this line, Kamala Das say about the how small girl uh, mature and and her situation. She write about the situation uh, in this line. Dress in sari, be girl, be wife. They said in this line, she talking about the Indian society, which they want to. Indian society want from a woman. They want to see a woman after marriage told that wear sari and become wives, and they expect take various roles like doing embroidery, cooking, and some things, even arguing with household helpers. The main idea is that they must adapt to their surroundings. Even their actions, how they sit or move, are often influenced and controlled by a man, their lives. This passage describe a conservation society where women are expected to be passive and obedient. In this stanza we can see uh, there are many don'ts that married women are followed, that we can see that don't play pretending games, don't play at uh, she schizophrenian or be a nympho. Don't cry embarrassingly loud when jilled in love. In this stanza, Kamala Das want to say that if any girl broke in this in her relationship, she don't have that right that she can cried in loud. To conclude, in Kamala Das' poem and introduction, we can see that how women's right and freedom are explored. It challenges old ideas about what women should do and be, especially in marriages in Indian society. It also makes us think about our own lives and whether we have any advantages that we might not have noticed. The poem still matters today and helps us talk about fairness and freedom for everyone. Here is my references. Now you can ask me a question.
Bhavita, my question is that in the introduction, how does Kamala Das present herself and poetry?
In poem, she give these words like an Indian and brown, and she also give this. She speaks in three language, write in two, and she dreams in only one language, and all about. She write all about her identity and feelings which she feels in her past or through the life.
Bhavyata, in poem and introduction, what is the underlying essence that Kamala Das aimed to express?
In this poem, Kamala Das want to express the identity and the feelings and the challenges being woman in society, and she aimed that to convey a message about her personal and personal experience and issue of woman which nowadays feel in our society, and other is gender roles and social experience, and society expect for the from the woman. Thank you.
Is it visible? Okay. Very good noon to you all on the second day of presentation season 3. I'm Jani, and today I'm going to deal with the topic significance of time and space in the final solution. Here is the roadmap of the points which I'm going to deal with. Here is a very brief detail about Mahesh Dattani, who is the writer of the final solution. As earlier, all of us have discussed about it, so I won't go deep in that. But I would like to remark, I would like to showcase a remark of Pramod K. Nair, who considers Mahesh Dattani as daring and innovative, as he prominently writes about all the ongoing situation about India and all the controversies. He is fearless and very bold and write openly about it. Not only write, but he also makes movie about it, and it is very iconic also. Here is a short summary of a final solution. And moving forward to my topic, significance of time. Mahesh Dattani devoted over a year of extensive research for the play. He wanted to write a play, and he did a lot of research. And for that, he has also read the books like Freedom at Midnight and Lankesh Patrike. And furthermore, he conducted numerous interviews with the survivors of communal rights in Gujarat and in Karnataka. And as a minister, and as a Mr. Dhiren Parmar mentions, one of the riots that Dattani researched that particularly caught his attention was the 1985 Rath Yatra riot in Ahmedabad. Mr. Dhiren Parmar believes that this would have had become his inspiration for the riot that brings Javed and Bobby to the Gandhi family in the final solution. The play gains added significance due to the political context of a Hindu rights Ram Janmabhoomi movement during the writing and the production. In the early 19th, the Bharatiya Janata Party BJP endorsed the demolition of a Babri Masjid through the religious procession called Yatratra. As yesterday, I have also mentioned that how the political parties has a great influence of Ramayana among all the people, and using that as a political tool, and destroying other community. So this is how in the past the things were happening. But we can well observe that the things which were happening in the time when the particular party was ruling over Gujarat only, and now we can see that in this time the party is who is ruling the India is doing same all over the India. When we see that some party is doing this type of controversies in Gujarat only, but now the time has extended, the party has extended, and so that is how it is ruling all over the mindset of Indian people, and using religion as a political agenda. The final solution, written and staged in 1993, coincided with the period of heightened tension and urban violence in India. Mahesh Dattani's play was a response to the 1992 Babri Masjid demolition, and it evolved within the specific social context. Dattani's deep social awareness compelled him to tackle the pressing issues of religious communalism, advocating the communal harmony. The play underscores the idea that the only solution to this problem lies in the mutual acceptance and the empathy toward one and another. I will discuss about the end later on. So, time has played a significant role as it indirectly represents the background of playwright's time as well through the character of Daksha and Hardika. When we can observe that significance of time through the background of the play as the time, the contemporary time in which the play has been written, and the very sense of time period in the character of Daksha as well Hardika, which is both are the same. Daksha writes a diary, and throughout the play, she has diary and she reads. So, in this manner, we can say that how Daksha is restoring the time, and she is preserving time and the memory. And after reading it, after writing, and when in the future when she rereads it, she has a very deep insights for her writing. So Daksha and Hardika both are characters. Daksha is past and Hardika is present. So Daksha also has dealt with the communal rights on her in her past, and as well when she is in present, she is also facing the same problems. Which were happened in the past. So the thing is that the time has passed, but the mentality isn't. We are still having the same mentality as we were having in the past, but now we can say that we are having very aggressive thoughts about that religion complexities. The very situation throws the light upon the time. Memory is a crucial discourse in contemporary literature. It leaves out one of the predominant clear-cut sociological, mental, and psychological panorama. Memory actually retains the main topical items throughout the various modes and models. As Dhiren Parmar also highlights that through the character of Daksha, the audience is slowly able to know the two factors that are source of Hardika's animosity. Forgetting occurs in history, politics, and life is general. The struggle against the power is the struggle of memory against forgetting. Comments Milan Kundra in his book of laughter and forgetting. So here there is a clear cut remark that the struggle against power is struggle against memory. As we have also seen in the 1984, the George Orwell's book, that how the power is controlling our memory, and the same way we are also feeling the same way and dealing with the consequences right, nowadays. Significance of space. The play has a very beautiful stage crafts, as one can see through the whole. The play is into three spaces. One is Mob, two is the Gandhi family, and three is the memory of Daksha. When we look at the movie, it has the stage like when in the past there is a memory of Daksha, and in the very front space of the stage there is a present time, and the family Gandhi family which is performing, and on the side corners there is a mob and the chorus which is being changed by time and again about with the help of the Muslim chorus and as well as Hindu chorus. So the chorus, the mob, shows the all the mentality of people and the suffering of people who are in the middle of the stage, in the middle of the house, that how the people and how the majority affects individuals. Mr. Dhiren Parmar feels that at various point of the time, these three separate worlds interact and overlap with each other. The blurring of time, the mixing of the dialogues, mixing of the time
also plays significant role in this play, as one can see that hearing Daksha in her past and hearing Hardika in the present, and the conflicts of Bobby and Javed in the present, and the backstage there is a mob from the past as well as the present. So this all the mixture blends very well through the stage crafts by Mahesh Dattani. Final Solutions opens with the image of five masked individuals dressed in the black. Dattani has named them as mob chorus. Each member has two masks, one of the Hindu and other of Muslim. The local Hindu and Muslim communities, symbolized by the mob chorus, are being driven toward conflicts during the riots. The communal violence between these groups triggers Hardika's recollection of the partition era and her experiences as a new lead in 1948. These memories find expression through the character of Daksha, who is depicted reading from her diary. So, as we always have said that history, religion, and all the conflicts always affect the women, and same way in this play, all the restriction and everything is being affected on the women. In conclusion, Final Solution effectively utilizes the interplay of time and space to shed light on the enduring communal tension in India. The play underscores the need for acceptance and empathy to address these issues, and calls for collective understanding of history's impact on contemporary society. We can say that the final solution ends the movie final solution ends with the fog, and in the very ending the fog is colored white. So that fog shows that the solution can be the peace. Living together peacefully can be the solution, but it is shown in the manner of a fog which is not always clear. So that is how one can see that living together peacefully is a kind of solution, but it is not so. When we are looking in our time that we are having very aggressive nationalist as well as religious person in today's time, so they are not feeling peace, and they are not letting us living in peace with secular ideas. But this can be solution, but it needs more readings and more patience and more power and more knowing the things deeply. So that's it from my side, and here is my work cited if there is any question.
So, Avani, my question is that, according to you, what is lacking in Mahesh Dattani's final solution?
uh, the title shows the final solution, but the whole play is about the struggles of Javed, Bobby, and as well Ramnik, Smita, and all. But the struggle dwell in a very shallow water. In the end, the Mahesh Dattani shows fog, the white color, as a solution, as living in peace. But that can be a solution. He is not showing us the very directly the solution. It is he is leaving us in a dilemma, in confusion, and with lots of question that what can be the very solution. And I think while performing the play, one might the characters might ask a question to the audience, very audience, to know their mentality. So at the end, I think there can be the solution by asking the people after watching the whole play how they think. That can be the solution. One can give very beautiful ideas about the solution, but he is not clearly specifying the solution. So that is, I think, it is lacking from the play and the title itself. Thank you.
So, Avani, my question is that is it not problematic to teach final solution in educational setting, considering the ethical consideration and challenges associated with addressing themes of communal violence and trauma? So, how can you answer this, like trauma and violence?
Okay. So the question is that what is ethics? So who decides the ethics? That is the main question. We are not deciding the ethics, but when we are learning the final solution, as it has lots of controversies, like holding a Muslim boy holding God's murti in his hand. So one can say that while we are studying it, when we are in masters, if there is this chapter in the BA course, then it might not affect the way it has effect on us. Like we are quite enough mature to handle and to know the things quite very well, and to dig deep down the what is the main thought of this very play. And while we see that this drama, that this play plays very vital role in our shaping our minds and our mentality. So when we are becoming mature, when we are enough mature to understand the things in the right way, it cannot be problematic at all for studying such a beautiful place. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Good noon to all of you. Myself Anjali Rathod, Season 3, Presentation Day 2. I am going to present on the topic The Art of Rebellion, Meena Kandasamy's Dalit Voice in Literature. It's my personal information. Table of Contents. Introduction of author, Dalit literature, the angry Dalit voice, identity and resistance, and articulations of the voice of the marginalized, and conclusion. Introduction. Ilavenil Meena Kandasamy, born in 1984 to Tamil parents, both university professors, is based in Chennai. Her first book, Touch, was published in 2006. Meena Kandasamy is an Indian poet, fiction writer, and activist known for her powerful and thought-provoking works that addresses issues such as caste, feminism, and social injustice. She was gained recognition with her debut poetry collection, Touch, which was published in 2006. Two of her poems have won prizes in All India poetry competitions. Her poetry has been published in various journals, including Little Magazine, Kavya Bharati, Indian Horizons, Muse India, and the Quarterly Literary Review, Singapore. Meena Kandasamy wrote a biography of Ayankali, Kerala's foremost Dalit revolutionary in collaboration with Nisa. Her second volume of poetry was published in 2010, MS Militancy. Her novels The Gypsy Goddess, When I Hit You, Exquisite Cadavers. In addition to her literary pursuits, Kandasamy is also a prominent voice in advocating for women's rights and social justice. She has been vocal about issues related to caste discriminations, gender inequality, and domestic violence. Kandasamy's activism often informs her writing, making her work socially relevant and impactful. Dalit literature, a historical context, the world reveals, but these writers from marginalized and despised groups are often shocking. Zeliot recently heard a reading by a young man from a pickpocket caste, which described the inevitable life of crime of that group in touching and frightening vignettes. Many of the writers have received criticism from within their castes or tribes for revealing less than respectable factors of group life. The new writers from this group tend to write autobiography rather than poetry, and title has been translated into English. It is clear, however, that the genre of autobiography reveals political and social awareness. An individual story becomes significant in the explorations of group identity. Dalit literature refers to literary works created by authors belonging to the Dalit community in India. Dalit historically oppressed and marginalized due to the caste system have used literature as a tool to their express their experiences, challenges, and aspirations. Dalit literature specially addresses to the social, economic, and political issues faced by Dalits, highlighting their struggles and discriminations, untouchability, and social injustice. The other new directions of Dalit literature are best illustrated with poetry and comments on the current activities of the older writers. Uh, this essay, however, we will use poems by four of the Dalit women writers to illustrate what we think are the contributions women have made to the field of Dalit literature. First, the identifications of Dalit women with all women based ex- exemplified by Hira Bensor's poem Slave. As Christian Novet's article indicated, there is a divide between caste women and Dalit women that can't be bridged by organizations. Historical background of Dalit literature in India. The roots of Dalit literature can be tracked back to the mid 20th century, paralleling the social and political movement for Dalit rights and social equality. Uh, During this period, writers like Obama, Daya Power, Om Prakash Valmiki, and others began to document the experiences of Dalits in India. These writers challenged traditional literary norms and highlighted the harsh realities faced by Dalits in their writings. Meena Kandasamy, the angry Dalit voice. Dalit Meena Kandasamy is the angry Dalit voice. The Dalit literature is based on Dalit consciousness, and it represents the harsh lived experience of marginalized Dalit people. There is always one or the other real character behind a fictional name, and the depiction of solid reality behind the thin veil of fictionalized incidents in almost all the genres of Dalit literature. Dalit literature specifically addresses the uh, social, social, economic, and political issues faced by Dalits, and highlighting their struggles against discrimination, untouchability, and social injustice. It often reflects the Dalit perspective, providing a unique insight into their lives and asserting their identity and agency. Dalit literature is basically a literature of resistance, as in the mainstream literary canon. It is necessary to be a woman to represent the experiences of women. It is also necessary to have women writers in other marginalized classes. Dalit male writers are facing occasions. Accusations of not providing Dalit women writers their due place. Dalit male writers do not take serious note of the literary output of Dalit women and tend to be dismissive of it. Continue with this. Meena Kandasamy acknowledges in one of her interviews that she chose poetry consciously because it deals with language, and language is the site of subjugation and oppression. It is poetry which has the power to challenge the oppression of language and its inequalities. Kandasamy offers her resistance through language, and she consciousness of her being a or being a Dalit and a feminist. Kandasamy think that writing in English has a power to reach the corridors of power and gain a wider audience. She dreams of an English which is free of white man's sway from the control of elite society. Dalits in India have been much inspired by the Black American movements. The example may be given that of the Dalit Panther movement, which was launched in Maharashtra under the direct influence of the American Black Panthers movement. Both the communities were of course marginalized and to some extent equally victimed. Kandasamy tries to show the temperamental differences between the two. Meena Kandasamy is indeed a prominent and influential voice in contemporary Indian literature, known for her fierce advocacy against social injustice and her unapologetic exploration of Dalit identity. While she is widely recognized for her strong stance on issues related to caste discriminations, feminism, and human rights, it is important to note that she doesn't exclusively identify as a Dalit writer. Dalit identity and resistance. The word Dalit in Marathi means crushed, broken down, and reduced to pieces. The post colonial term subaltern suits the Dalits of India because they remain subordinate to the privileged sections of the society since time immemorial. The subaltern voice is heard today in spite of its interior status in every walk of life. The Black Panthers of America paved the way for the depressed classes of India to begin the Dalit Panther movement to challenge the caste hierarchy in our country. Dalit consciousness now speaks out its emotions and anguish. Dalit identity and resistance are closely intertwined aspects of the social and political landscape in India. Dalit historically marginalized and oppressed due to the caste system have faced centuries of discriminations, untouchability, and social exclusion. In recent decades, Dalit communities have mobilized, asserting their identity and engaging in various forms of resistance against the enraged inequalities they face. It it expresses its dissent on the existing social injustice and discriminations on the basis of caste, creed, color, and community. Uh, Dalit identity and historical roots in caste systems or cultural heritage. In caste system, Dalits are considered the lowest in the Hindu caste hierarchy, traditionally really relegated to the menial and degrading task. They have been socially segregated and discriminated against for generations. Dalit literature portrays the stark reality of the plight of the oppressed in India, class under the Indian caste system. Dalit literature forms a distinct part of Indian literature. The voice of the Dalit is heard the prominently after 1960 in the form of poems, short stories, and autobiographies in almost all important languages. He Dalit identity and resident in historical oppression, centuries of discriminations. We bear the weight of centuries of discriminations, untouchability, and social segregation. Our ancestors endured humiliations, violence, and exclusion society based on their birth in a particular caste. In articulation of the voice of the marginalized, Kandasamy expresses her anger against caste and against caste-based discriminations, which has crippled the Dalits marginalized to dehumanized state as they are subjected to humiliations and oppressions. In other words, her works focus on poverty, oppression, injustice, caste annihilation, linguistic identity, and pangs and predicaments of women. Casteism is an old social evil which is used to subjugate the lower stratum of the hierarchical social structure of Indian society and to uphold discriminations as well as gain unfair advantage over the others marginalized. The marginalized groups of India, such as Dalits or untouchables, Adivasis, and nomadic tribes, were made to lead dehumanized and degraded lives. An individual identity is determined by caste and not by karma. The marginalized groups of India, such as Dalits, untouchables, Adivasis, and nomadic tribes, were made to lead dehumanized, degraded lives. After the whole discussion, last conclusion, Meena Kandasamy champions the cause of the marginalized and pleads for their liberty, equality, and fraternity and justice, so that they can live with honor and dignity. Meena Kandasamy's works shares the discourse of modernity which addresses issues concerning contemporary society and its conditions. Dalit realized that education combined with experience can create wonders in the lives of people by making people realize that empowerment comes only where there is enlightenment and unity. There are reference. If you have any question, then ask.
Anjali, my question is that what are your views on Kandasamy choosing to write exclusively about caste discrimination when she could have also addressed religion-based discrimination?
Meena Kandasamy choosing to write exclusively about caste discrimination. So author have their own chooses to write their own focus. The caste discriminations is a impact of a person, and see we we can't say that see specific or felt person that by concentrating one issue, she made as an about caste discrimination.
Anjali, as your presentation has the heading of the art of rebellion, Meena Kandasamy's Dalit voice in literature, what are your views on the contemporary time? Is this voice really being heard?
Yes, the art of rebellion, Meena Kandasamy's Dalit voice in literature, in contemporary time, it extend of its awareness about caste discriminations and untouchability, and Dalit issues has increased, but challenges still exist in executing in caste discrimination of the art of rebellion in Dalit voice in literature.
Hello everyone, myself Arti Sarvaiya. Today I am going to deal with this topic, Midnight Children as a historical novel. This is my personal information. Table of content about the writer, about the Midnight Children. Midnight Children as a historical fiction. Conclusion and then references. About the writer. Salman Rushdie is an Indian born British American novelist and essayist.
He won the Booker Prize for his novel Midnight Children. Much of his early fiction is set on the Indian subcontinent, which his later fiction of explore the perspectives of expatriates uh, from the developing world living abroad. His style is often classified as magical realism, mixed with historical allusions, and a dominant theme of his work is the story of many connection, disruption, and migrations between the East and West. Salman Rushdie received uh, many awards. These are some name of his awards which he won, and then his major works, especially novel, includes Grimm's Midnight Children's, Shame, the Static Verse, Fury, Shalimar and Clown, and the Golden House. The key facts of the novel Midnight Children. This novel is written by Salman Rushdie, and it was published in 1981. And it is written in the first person narrator, and the narrator of this novel is Saleem Sinai. Uh, this novel is written in between 1915 to 1977, and in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Uh, about Midnight Children. Midnight Children is a flux autobiography in which a personal farce and political realism fuse only to disintegrate into a contingency and absurdity. Its narrator, Saleem Sinai, combines the story of his own childhood with that of the India itself. Having been born at midnight on the day of India's independence from the British colonization, Salim asserts to understand just one life, you have to swallow the world. And this elastic novel tracks enjoyably in all directions to encompass its narrator and his relatives, as well as the notion and its inhabitants. Midnight Children as a historical fiction. Midnight Children is a unique work that presents the history of partition India through the use of fiction. Um, and it stand as a primary document in that it was written by someone who experienced the time period described in the book. Such a work is crucial to understand the complexity, the mix of politics, religions, and national identity that marks the modern India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. The story is told by the Salim, who is the protagonist of this novel, and the Salim's family and his family is also plays a vital role in this novel. And in Midnight Children, Salman Rushdie presents the complexity of life in post-colonial India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Through a novel, Rushdie has brought the history of India in last half of the 20th century in a wider audience. Salim and the new state of India are symbolic counterparts. Both were born at midnight on 15th August 1947, along with other 1001 children. After after the loss of one power, Salim gains another for his enormous and extraordinary becomes capable to scan different far beyond the normal. The narrator, Saleem, constantly relates his life to India, his birth, enlargement, growth, and obliteration are India's, and importantly, his central character traits has been failure to raise what ways things are occurring. The character seems to stroll through the pages of history, crushing with significant moment in the progress of India outwardly in catastrophe. The protagonist of Salman Rushdie's novel Midnight Children is Saleem Sinai, and through him, Rushdie tries to make the connection between history and personal. The boundaries between historical and personal in the novel is blurred in such a way that historical becomes a personal and personal become historical, and what is exactly personal and historical remains unclear for the reader. Sinai's life is connected to history in such a way that it cannot be separated. We can get the knowledge about history when we see the life of Saleem. Salman Rushdie says that history is not only which is documented in historical archives or written in history books, but it is also which lives in a mind of people who show it happening. Thus, there are alternative historical histories also that are based on memories. Salim, who is both sequenced and supernaturally gifted by the past, like his own father. In the novel, the mixing of unbelievable and ordinary, which is a feature of magical realism, appears Indians as the character concerned in the contemporary political and social disturbance, also on the power of mythical heroes. One of the purpose of historical writing is to create as closely as possible the element of the past. Through the form of fiction, Rushdie recreates life in post-partition India in a way that reflects the outlook of Indians whose daily lives were handcuffed to history. Independence and partition push a vast and varied human and geographical territory into a new identities and self definitions. Rushdie, in the very beginning of the novel, tells us that Salim is a handcuffed to history, beginning with the Salim's birth on the day of India's independence, and Rushdie is very beautifully connects the Salim's personal life with history as if history is happening for him. Rushdie, through this novel, raises the issue of history being partial or history presented to us in a part. He foregrounds his argument through the episode of perforated sheet in the novel where Dr. Adam Aziz fits and first sees Nazim Ghani, who both are the grandparents of Salim, and in that in that part through the in that part Nazim didn't show herself to Dr. Aziz until the day they got married. This has metaphorically significance because the partial sequential and gradual visibility of Nazim Ghani to Dr. Aziz, which symbolizes the partial history. The chattering sound of the teeth is compared to the sound of gun. And through the sweeping episode of Salim and Shiv, Rushdie raises the idea of fictional history. He questions the authenticity of associating himself with history. Uses magical realist mode to challenge the colonial official historiography. The choice of commingling two seemingly antithetical narrative modes is significant. It is often argued that the dominant narrative mode of the West being realism, faithful reproducing of the empirical reality into art. On the other hand, the East has been stereotypically described preferring magical narrative by choosing to relate Indian history in magical realist mode. Rushdie intermingles the objective, scientific, and empirical reality with metaphorical, mystical, and magical realities. Thus, Midnight Children is foregrounded the idea that historical representations are not objective rec- recuperations of the past in the present. Rather they do reveal meditated metaphorical, subjective, and ideological nature of historical representations. Conclusion. Through the form of fiction, Rushdie described the post-partition India in the way that illuminates a history that has often been distorted and erased. The novel is all about time and the character of Saleem Sinai, who is preoccupied with history. It is very difficult to understand the novel if the reader is not familiar with Indian history. Rushdie falls short to provide us with a real historical India, but rather gives us alternative India built on the never happened or in other word failed history. Midnight Children is an important work in historiography of modern India. The complexity of Indians politics, including the tyrannies of Indira Gandhi, the violence involved in the creation of Bangladesh, and the relationship Muslim of Pakistan and India all are revealed in a clear picture in course of the Rushdie's fable. These are the references. Thank you. Now you can ask me question.
Aarti, as per your views, what ethical considerations could be taken while using historical events, figures in a work of fiction, and how these considerations relate to the portrayal of history in Midnight Children?
In the Midnight Children, Rushdie explores the history of India with the use of life of the main protagonist Salim, and he portrays the history in with the and he also used the magical realism and he told about uh, history in this novel.
Auntie, what role do family and identity play in the context of historical events in the novel?
Um, a role of family and identity play a vital role in this novel as in history also there is a vital role played by the family and identity that role of Salim's family is a is family is represent a history of pre-colonized India, and the life of Salim is represented the history of post-colonial India. Thank you.
Okay, so a very quick recap. First of all, you still are taking lots of time. You have to stick to the time of within 10 minutes. Maximum it is 10 minutes time to present. So this is almost 3 hours and 20 minutes. That's only for the 10 of you. So lots of time has been taken. More than 18 to 20 minutes are taken by on an average by per student. So tomorrow be careful again. See that how many slides you really require. You just have to talk about 1 or 2 ideas only. No need to bring in everything here. When you write assignments, you write in detail as long as you want to write. Assignments are for talking everything. Here to the point that what you want to prove, and 1 or 2 examples is enough instead of bringing everything here. Again, good, well prepared questions. Quality of questions are improving today. Well drafted also, with less spelling or structure error, and quality wise also it was good. You all presented also very well. Content wise, topic was justified. Most of you have now started giving good references also. In text also I was able to see, and at the end also things are visible. A few things which we need to take care of. For example, final solutions. In one of the presentations, I saw that there was a reference to 2002 riots there. So we need to keep in mind that when is the text written and for what purpose is the text written. That is a very important thing to keep in mind. This was by Gayatri. Yes? We were talking about or connecting with 2002 riots. Reference, there are many references to this. Now, this is not true. In many other slides we have seen, Avani, Drashti or others who talked that it was about Babri Masjid and the series of bombs, bomb attack by terror on Bombay. That is 92-93 is the this. That is, locating a text into a time is very, very important. Now, you can't make such a mistake about when is this text written and what was the immediate contemporary event for the text to be written. That is very important that you have to keep in mind. So this was one factual thing that you have to take care of. Drashti referred quite well to several resources, like even the contemporary Manipur or Nu riots were also connected along with other things. This reference also was good. That is why, because of this, Final Solution, a documentary which was released in 2004. So there are many chances that when you Google, you might be confused whether Final Solutions or Final Solution. And there is something after Gujarat riots known as Final Solution also. But this is altogether a different documentary. This is connected with Gujarat riots by Rakesh Sharma. But it is not about what Mahesh Dattani is referring to. About this and the play. And this Final Solution word is very well known with another context. This is about Nazi context, Holocaust. So a final solution to the Jewish question. It means that you do genocide and the only solution is to kill each and every individual belonging to that community or that religion. That is final solution. That was very popular phrase in the time of Nazis. So when anybody even by mistakenly refers that this is the final solution, people get alarmed. That what do you mean by the final solution? Do you want to do genocide the way Nazis were doing of Jews? That so a slight mistake in the writing a spelling leads to a greater confusion. So you can't make such a spelling error where there is altogether a different story remaining there. Obviously, Dattani also wants to reminds us this final solution. not directly referring to, but that again somewhere he is referring. But his text is Final Solutions. So when you do that, a few of you in the topics that you have typed, Avani, Drashti, you have made this mistake in typing. So now with timestamp also, in timestamp also you see that the spelling is corrected, because I will copy from here along with your timestamp and paste it in description of YouTube. So if there is any mistake here, it will come in the description under the YouTube also. And anybody else who will later on watch it will say that I have made that mistake. Because that will be then my mistake. But I will have to copy. I can't read each and everything and write everything with corrected form there. So that is another chance that you get to rectify your title, capitalization in title, when you type the timestamp. At that time, again, have a look at your topic, which will be copy pasted in the description of YouTube. Okay, so that was the reference, and the other things by and large were quite good. Okay, this was a good question by Bhavyata to Anjali she was reading on Meena Kandasamy's poems, and this was about this discrimination, that why she writes about caste discrimination and not about religion discrimination, and that is also very interesting to go into the history. The other day in our classroom discussion, we referred to this anniversary of Anna Periyar in Tamil Nadu. So how they refer to Hindu religion and the discriminations within Hindu religion. So their concern is not the wider religious discrimination as Mahesh Dattani is worried about. Tamil poet Meena Kandasamy is worried about the discrimination within Hindu community. So she is talking more about caste rather than the religious discrimination, which Mahesh Dattani is talking about. Okay, well, the others were quite good presentations which were made. Okay, so we end our session here.